Yeah, a couple of people, a couple of new faces will attend this year's conference. But one key introduction for this year is what we call the Redex. It's important for voice talents to even understand that the joy of voice acting and then the actual work is in auditions, which actually is not a thing in Africa. But the way the industry is evolving, it's going to become a thing for us soon.
Hi, and welcome to the Everything Voiceovers podcast. I am T-Code, an African voiceover talent from Nigeria, and this is my podcast where I take on voiceover topics from an African perspective. In this episode, I interview Emeka Onunkwo, the convener of the VO Africa Conference. We spoke about the upcoming edition of the conference this year and more exciting plans from Emeka's emerging casting site. Sit back and enjoy this episode. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Everything Voiceovers podcast, the African perspective. Yep, it's Tico here again with another super duper exciting episode. And today we're going to be talking about something that puts or connects the entire industry together. When we talk about connecting the industry together, what comes to mind most of the time is probably an event that networks us, gives us the opportunity to see each other, to talk, to interact and to learn. And we've had a couple of those events. I mean, of course, globally, those events happen, at least in the US. We've got conferences, webinars and all of that. Here in Africa and in Nigeria as well, we've got webinars, but then we also have conferences that brings us together. So we're going to be looking at one of the conferences that is being held in the continent about voiceovers. And this conference has been on for, I think 3 years now. But don't worry, I'm going to leave the talking and the introduction and all of that to the brain behind this conference. It is tagged Africa's biggest voiceover conference. Let's hear more about that from my guest today. Well, my guest isn't the first time on this podcast. He's been here before, and if you can guess correctly, he's from Nigeria. He's a voiceover director, a casting director, I beg your pardon, and yeah, he does both. And then he's also the creator of a couple of companies, and I'm going to leave him to talk to us about them because I've seen him evolve, or I've seen his companies evolved over time. To accommodate bigger services still in the voiceover space. I'm talking about no other person than Emeka Onunkwo, the organizer of the VO Africa Conference. It's a pleasure to have you on the podcast again, Emeka.
Hi, it is a pleasure to be here again. I'm super excited, and thank you for the beautiful work you're doing for the industry. You're doing really awesome. Thank you for having me as well.
Yeah, thank you for accepting to be here again for the second time. The last time you were on the podcast, we had a very interesting conversation about what you do and what to look out for if voice talents are auditioning and stuff like that. And I want to say a big thank you because that episode has really helped people in the space of auditioning and, just trying to grow in the industry. So well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we're here today to talk about the VO Africa Conference. And I've been a participant of the VO Africa Conference twice, and I'm gearing for the third edition. Let's talk about the conference. Why did you decide to start the VO Africa Conference?
Okay. Before the conference, I had been a casting and acting director, and I've had the privilege to work across Africa. I've worked largely in the East African and the West African markets. So one of the things I notice is that we do have lots of talents and people who are passionate about the industry, who are passionate about using their voice, but we lacked the knowledge of the business. We also lacked the knowledge of the industry. In some cases, we actually don't even have an industry in some countries. So I see that there are opportunities, but people are missing out on the opportunities. Not that they want to, but because of sometimes, for some people, they don't have the information. For some people, they don't believe that there's anything in it because they don't know. For some others, they just don't know how to get around and how to grow. So there were loads of challenges I found. Now, one major challenge for casting directors would be, how do you even find, if you're going to cast in a country out of your country and you don't want to move, how can you cast for voices? You find that some people they're good, they're in the industry, but because they don't have an understanding how the industry works, they just want to play local. They just want to look for opportunities that come from their own space, and that makes it difficult. That's why sometimes you see foreign projects using white American talents and English talents, trying to sound like Africans, just trying to do that because it's more convenient for them to find that. It hadn't been very convenient for them to find the fantastic African talents that exist, because they don't know they can find them, and people didn't have the information that they can grow their business then using the internet. But things are changing a lot. It is different. In just 3 years, we've made a lot of difference in the African space. Yeah. So these are some of the reasons why that necessitated the conference.
Well, that's interesting, because I've observed over time that your focus is more of giving the continent, how would I put it now, like putting the continent out there. If I look at the conference, I see a lot of international industry experts that you invite. For instance, in 2021, you started with someone like Rudy Gaskins, the co-founder and CEO, chairman of Society of Voice Arts and Scientists. What a way to start a conference. And we also had from South Africa, Chilulemba. We had Hugh Edwards from the UK, and a host of other people like that. And also 2022, you went as far as having Fennoy and a couple of other people like that, Wakim Zege from Kenya. Let's talk about that international appeal that you're giving the African continent through the conference. How would you say this has impacted the relationship between the African market and then the international market in terms of the voiceover industry?
Now, when I started planning the conference in 2021, I did encounter people who asked me if we actually had if we actually do voiceover in Africa. I actually did encounter someone who actually thought that majority of the African the voiceover projects that would be done in Africa would be done abroad using white voices, because he didn't think that there was anything like voice acting in Africa. Now, if these guys don't know that there's an industry, how would they even extend opportunities down this way? Now, that was one of the things I encountered while I was trying to build that starter conference. But the key reason why we have this mix of foreign casting directors and coaches is because if you want to grow in anything, it's easier for you to find people who have excelled in that thing, teach you how to do it. We haven't scratched the surface of voice acting, but they compared with what the North Americans or the Europeans have done. Now, I believe that we do have loads of stories to tell in Africa, but I also see the way we tell our stories, and maybe because of the orientation we currently have, or the way we see or approach to storytelling, our stories can go beyond our regions, because that's how it's actually created to be. But if you're looking to grow the business, now I'm looking at the business part of it. If you're looking to grow successfully, then the money isn't local. The money is global. Then you have to be able to tell your local stories for global audience. And how can you know how to tell it to the global audience in the way that they will accept it if you don't learn from them how it's actually done? Because when they tell their stories, you enjoy it. You don't even think about where it's coming from. The Disney channels, see the animations on Disney. It cuts across regions. Everybody enjoys it. Wherever you're coming from, as long as you can understand English, you enjoy it. But would you say the same of the stories coming out of Africa? It's because there are patterns that we don't understand, or that we're stuck in certain ways, or just understand how the global industry works or the global market works. So what my intent is to, for instance, Marc Graue. Marc Graue is one of the finest gaming voice or animation voices. He's been in the industry for about 4 decades. He's amassed a wealth of experience. He's grown in that industry. Now, if you have someone like that talk to you about how it's done, it's like impacting a 40 years experience into you, and 40 years of successful experience into you. You're able to catch up and run. My dream is to see the voice arts in Africa evolve and see us tell our stories to global audience. So that's why I do what I'm doing. But then there's also the local touch. You understand? Because I believe that a voice artist needs to first gain relevance locally, but should transcend local relevance into international global relevance. So there's that bit. Where you can find relevance locally and find relevance internationally. But also, we also now need to look at the genre of voice acting you want to go into. If you really want to go into animation, then you want to look at global. You want to look at the global marketplace, because animation is not really big in Africa, or neither is gaming big in Africa. In fact, a lot of it's starting to grow. But some of the projects, when it comes to gaming, some of the projects that even provides opportunities for African talents, are actually not African productions, not African projects. But then, if you want to take advantage of these opportunities, you must learn how it is done from those who are actually doing it. So that's the intention.
Interesting. And I must say, I can also attest to how much you invest in this passion of yours to see should I say, cross-pollination of talent from outside the continent and in the continent, to be able to produce quality stories being told in Africa. Because of course, like you said, we don't have all of the production without to put these stories into to bring them to life. And I see that you've done a lot, not just via the conference, but by African Voice and Media Works and Hippo Voices, which we're going to talk about soon. But still talking about the conference, tell us how it has been for the past 3 years organizing this conference together. You know, tell us what the experience has been like for someone who has never attended the conference, right? Year 1, year 2, year 3. And the beautiful thing about it is every time I attend, I see people from different countries. It's not just Nigeria. You see people from South Africa, people from the East African continent, and even North Africa and outside the continent. So how has the experience been in the past 3 years from the purview of the organizer?
All right. It's been exciting. It's been joyful. Organizing View Africa for the past 3 years. It's one thing to dream. It's another thing to live your dream. It has been a journey for to connect African voices, to grow the African voiceover industry, to create a platform where we can all come together and learn and interact. Doing View Africa makes that happen. So, has it been easy? No, it's not easy. It's a challenging. Yes, it is challenging. One of the major challenges is actually finding, identifying, because each year has a vision that you want to achieve. Each year there's a vision you want to achieve. Now, finding the people that can help you drive that vision. And despite the fact that we know that the industry is very given, it's a beautiful industry, it also costs money to bring people together, to have people come speak at a conference, especially because it's an industry where time is money. It's our time that we actually price. Our time and our skill we price. Now, that also is the second challenge. Running the effectively financially for 2 years and 3 years, but I'd say it's been a good experience. It's been one experience I wouldn't give up. I wouldn't give for anything. Each year has its own vision. You have things that you want to achieve. You have probably information you want to pass out, or a certain area you want to see people grow. And then you now want to identify people who will be, who can help drive that vision, help you achieve that dream for that year. Then the first challenge will be finding them, getting them to accept to be to speak at the conference, working out schedules, which includes timing and all of that, to ensure that everything, working out the logistics, which becomes an international logistics planning, and getting all sorted, and then executing the actual project. But one of the key joy is when the project ends, at the end of the conference, when you get the testimony from people talking about how this has changed their mind view, how this has changed their perspective to voice acting. And even after the conference, you see that people become more energetic about putting out their work, and people love what they do even more. People are starting to see that the opportunity. People become much more ambitious about voice acting. These are the things that excites me about the conference, that keeps us going about View Africa.
Right. View Africa is, again, like it has been tagged, Africa's largest voiceover conference. And this year, you're looking at the theme, Be More. So,
yes.
With this theme, what are we supposed to expect attending the conference?
Okay. Be More is speaking to the fact that the industry is evolving. The industry is evolving, and it's evolving before us fast. There was a time we didn't bother about AI because we believe that it's a tall task to try to sound human, for machines to try to sound human. But the amount of work that those guys have put into AI in the past 6 months of this year, it's been amazing. AI has evolved. Now, humans won't only be competing with themselves, they'll also be competing with artificial intelligence when it comes to voice acting. And also, budgets are shrinking. Opportunities are also, in some areas, opportunities are shrinking. How then can you thrive as a voice actor? How then can you thrive? Now, even though early opportunities are shrinking, opportunities are also opening up in the voiceover industry. There are areas that people are not even looking into. For instance, even personal content. Because you've got a voice, you can actually create opportunities for yourself using your voice and creating content for yourself. For instance, you can use your voice and even podcast. You can use your voice in several other ways. So we're looking at how we can create that orientation in people that, hey, you can be more than just a voiceover. You can be more than just that voice. You can be more than just a commercial talent, a commercial voiceover talent. You can be more than just an audiobook talent. Do you understand? And then you need to also understand how the industry is evolving. What are the opportunities in AI? Funny enough, AI is also providing opportunities for voice talent. We're having situations where you can actually, there are platforms where you can actually, you can have your voice, you can automate your voice, and your voice, you can use your voice to train the machine. And every time a client uses that voice for a project, even though you had no input, it's just your voice that have been used to train the machine, you earn something. So we're getting to the point where you can be in your house earning money through AI without you actually hitting studio. So you need to know about these opportunities. And a lot of times, you won't get all this information and all this knowledge or even know about all of these things if you don't attend conferences, if you don't participate in forums and attend webinars that are industry specific.
All right, so I'm hyped about the conference already, and I can't wait to be a part of it. For those wondering when the conference is happening, I know it's happening on the 8th, 9th, and 10th of September. Yeah, so for the first time, we're having a 3-day virtual voiceover conference. I mean, the previous one, I think, was 2 days. Why 3 days this time around, and what's the schedule going to look like in the 3 days?
Okay, actually, let me correct that. It has always been 3 days. It's been the scope. The conference, the main days of the conference is day 1, day 2. Day 3 is when we have the town hall. We just do a few sessions and then we have the town hall. Majorly to discuss about voice arts in Africa, the challenges, and how we can overcome the current challenges in the voiceover industry in Africa. That's basically that's largely what happens at day 3. But for day 1 this year, yes, we'll have our keynote speech from our keynote speaker this year, who happens to be Joan Baker. Joan Baker has been an amazing pillar to the Voice to the View Africa conference and the voice arts in Africa through the Society of Voice Arts and Sciences. They are a very giving society who are open to growing the voice arts globally. They've done amazing work in the industry and they keep doing that. We will have a couple of sessions. We'll have some new faces in the voiceover industry in the View Africa conference this year, which would also include Aurelia Michelle, who will be speaking for the first time. She's also an energetic, fantastic voice. A couple of people, a couple of new faces will attend this year's conference. But one key introduction for this year is what we call the ReadX. Now, it's important for voice talents to even understand that the joy of voice acting and then the actual work is in auditions, which actually is not a thing in Africa. But the way the industry is evolving, it's going to become a thing for us soon. Now, before you win a project, say in North America, you may have attended a few auditions. You may have, that's when we started to talk about audition ratios. For some people, they want the audition ratios to be 2 in 10. So for every 10 auditions, you book 2 projects. Now, in auditioning is when you actually use your voice, you actually express what you have learned. You find the joy in voice acting. I always say to people, what's an artist if he doesn't sing? What's a voice actor if he doesn't use his voice, if he doesn't voice scripts? Now, because of that, we've introduced what we call readx this year. Readx are just special rooms dedicated to reading scripts in specific genres and having a professional coach guide you, provide insights. So, for instance, in the week before the conference, we'll have an opportunity for people to register for specific rooms they want to be in. This year, we'll have scripts in audiobooks, animation, commercial, and documentaries. Yeah, documentary and narration. Now we'll have these 4 areas as well we're focusing on. Now, the way it's planned is, if someone would have probably during the conference would have taught, someone would have spoken on a commercial voiceover, how to deliver commercial voiceover. Then maybe in 2 hours later, the room is open for you to go and read commercial scripts. So you've taken a lesson on, or you've gotten insight on reading commercial voiceover scripts. You now have the opportunity to practicalize what you have learned. So yes, it's a virtual conference, but we're looking for ways to make it more interactive, more practical, that people can leave. You've learned something. You've also practicalized what you have learned. And even if you haven't practicalized it, you have listened to people deliver scripts from different perspectives. And then that helps you appreciate how to deliver scripts. That helps you appreciate the process of understanding how to deliver scripts, which is also an area where back home here in Africa we struggle a lot in when it comes to script, analyzing script. A lot of times we find it difficult to lose ourselves and become the person the script wants us to be. Yeah, now it helps when you see it from different perspectives. Then you start to understand how better these things, how best to do these things. So this year we're introducing readx. Readx will help you with our rooms dedicated to reading real scripts and having professional coaches direct you on how good or how they think, or direct you on areas or better ways to deliver those scripts.
Awesome. So readx will be introduced this year alongside the goal of the conference, which is also helping talent to learn and network. That's a lot of benefits for a conference that has not just these features, but then great speakers like Fennoy, J. Michael Collins, someone who I respect so much and I listen to. Yeah. Joan Baker, of course, like you said, Rudy Gaskins, always had featured and is still featuring on the conference. We have Nathan Noakes, Seun Shobo.
I was going to shout out Seun Shobo, who is Seun is an amazing personality and has contributed greatly in the Nigerian voiceover scene. He's one voice to it's not just for Seun. it's not just listening to Shell's voice or being maybe taught by Shell. If you're a Nigerian and you are interested in the voiceover industry, then look at Shell's story. Then that gives you an idea how far you can go. Look, in this industry, you can't go far listening to people who haven't gone far. You also can't go far. Reason why I say that, in quote, listening to people who haven't gone far, because the people who haven't gone far has the stories that there's not much in the industry. So you get to hear that a lot. You get to hear people who don't believe that there's anything in it for them. Now, that's not the story you want to be hearing. You want to be hearing the stories of people who will tell you that you can go global with your voice. And they are telling you that you can go global because they have also gone global with their voice. That's the story we're trying to tell African talents, that there are opportunities in the voiceover industry. Just the way there are local opportunities, there are global opportunities. I dream of the day that Disney will be casting African talents for projects for African talents based in Africa for Disney projects. And it is very possible, but the talents have to believe that it is possible for it to happen. And then they have to go for it. They have to build the technical skill. Technical skill, that's different from learning about voiceover. Now, for instance, in animation, there are technical skills that you need to grow. You understand? You need to learn in delivering animation script. For instance, you are reading a script, and the story in the script, you've understood the story that the person you're talking to is in a distance, and you're supposed to say, hey there. Technically, you know that person is a distance. You shout, hey there, how are you? Can I get it from you? Now, whoever's listening to you, even if they're not watching the pictures, they know that you're talking to somebody in a distance. Those are technicalities. But if you don't understand those technicalities, you're reading the script and you're like, hey there, can I get it from you? You got a great voice and everything. But the casting director is not getting what he wants. He's not feeling it. And that's what makes animation different. It brings you into, cartoons brings you into a world, the world of the talents, the world of the characters. It's not a real world. It's an immersive world. It's an imaginary world. But it is a world that the characters have created. So you leave your world and you go into their world. So if you want to learn to be an animation character, you need to learn to import people into your world when you're delivering scripts. And it's those technicalities that helps you create that atmosphere.
Feels like we started the conference already. Now, I was also just shouting out to Sherry Shobo for the great work he's doing.
Yeah, and that includes people like Emmanuel, people like Wakilo, people like Jennifer, and all they've been doing for the African voiceover industry, and that also includes yourself as well, because you were doing some fantastic work helping the industry grow. This year we'll have more African voices, because I'm always looking out to find African talents who are doing great. We're going to have speakers come from Angola, South Africa, Kenya, Ghana, Nigeria. So we can have the feel from different Egypt as well. So we can have the feel of voice acting in Africa mixed with the feel of voice acting globally, internationally, in the North African and the English market, and have that feel so that we can actually grow locally and be relevant, or grow internationally and be relevant locally.
Wow. And all of this for the ticket price of how much?
Okay. All this for the ticket price of $50. But currently, we are having the early bird, which is the first. Usually, we have the early bird ticket sales, which are usually 50% the price of the tickets. So the early bird sale for tickets actually ends on Friday, August 4th. While the main ticket price will be $50. So yes, that's the cost of this year's conference.
Interesting. And today happens to be the 4th of August. So, it's your today. You got to register today for that price. But in Naira for Nigerians, because I understand you can also pay via the website.
Yeah, for Nigerians, it's 15,000 Naira. I know that dollar's been going haywire with, the Naira has been flooded in Nigeria. So, but we've kept it stable for Nigerians. So it is the way it was from the start. It still is 15,000 Naira, and after today it changes to 30,000 Naira. Now, for the world of knowledge, those speakers will be bringing, and the opportunity to network is one of the things we try to do is have the speakers open up their network for African talents. So, for instance, more people have gotten in touch with Dave Fennoy, got in direct contact with Dave Fennoy, which would not have really happened if Dave Fennoy haven't come to speak last year, because Dave Fennoy is like is a pillar in the voice arts in globally. People like Hugh Edwards, Africans can now connect with all of these talents, learn from them, and also get opportunities from all of the speakers. So my take for you is, if you really want to grow, for instance, conferences like this, we know they cost a whole lot globally, but the intent of View Africa is not to make money, but it's also to bring that knowledge to the African space, build that dream to the African space. So it's actually the cost of this conference is actually subsidized by the mother company itself.
All right, great. Just before I move to talking about the mother company and the other things that you are involved in, I also want to state it there, because I went to the website and I saw that people can pay for tickets and they can also donate. So it's important for us to help. So in case you want to support the View Africa conference, you can check the website and click the donate button, and we'll definitely be happy that you did that.
Yeah, so I just speak briefly to the donate. And one of the things donate does for us is it helps us give a lot of tickets free. For every penny donated is applied towards the tickets to help people attend the conference free, especially people who cannot attend a conference. Yes, we didn't make this public, but which was a discussion we had and approved about 8 days ago. For every visually impaired voice talents gets to access View Africa conference free of charge. So for every visually impaired talent we find anywhere that's interested in voice acting, we are happy to provide access to the conference, unlimited access to the conference for them. So the idea is just to grow the voice arts in Africa. So your donations helps us grow the voice arts in Africa.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being kind. I mean, you and the team for supporting voice arts in Africa. And I see that you are actually the brain behind African Voice and Media Works Limited. And I would also not be doing justice to this conversation if I don't recognize the fact that you're the creative director and founder of Nigerian Voice Bank, which has been running for almost a decade now. You're also, and it's actually Nigeria's first online voice casting site.
Yes.
Yeah. And you're also the brain behind Flame Media Works. and you're the founder of VO Africa. You're a member of Voiceovers. You are a representative for Gravy for the Brain here in Africa, among other things that you do. I don't know which to talk about first, but I just want to say that congratulations for the many things that you're doing. And let's start with the indigenous ones that you're responsible for, plus the new one on board now, which is Hippo Voices. I'm trying to put everything together in a timeline to understand the evolution and what to expect from you moving forward. So can you just, in a very, as simple and as quick as you can, tell us about the evolution of these companies and what they are targeted towards and what to expect moving forward?
Okay. So the journey started with Flame Media Works with the intent to provide media production for the Nigerian market. And then we identified that there was a challenge in the voiceover industry. It's actually over a decade because we started Nigerian Voice Bank in 2011, but the platform came live in 2012. That's when we had our first voice on. That's when we launched it and had our first. In fact, it was launched on February 14, 2012. That's on Val's Day. So, yeah, so that's when the journey started to create a platform that simplifies access to voice talents in Nigeria. So that was the aim. And it was growing and doing the work it ought to do. And Flame Media Works evolved into African Voice and Media Works, which is AVM Works, which is still the mother company. Then we moved on to introduce VO Africa because we realized that there was a knowledge gap and information gap in the African voiceover industry. Now we have natural born talents everywhere. Fantastic. And that's one good thing about Nigerians. In fact, Nigerians are blessed and Africans are blessed with a voice. But we understood that in the African market, there's also that knowledge gap and information gap. Then we set up VO Africa to provide to close the gap for the knowledge gap and close the information gap. Now, when moving forward, we've also identified that global access to African voices is difficult. How easy is it for you to find a voiceover talent in Maputo right now? But there are voiceover talents there. There are opportunities for them. Now, we also, as the business evolved post-COVID, we now realize that a lot of the agencies are pulling out of Africa because people are realizing that you can run budgets are shrinking, and people are realizing that you can run casting operations from any part of the world with the internet. People are also starting to realize that you can effectively direct sessions online over Zoom or Skype or other platforms. Now, because of that, people now depend on finding local voice from their international space, now creating a new problem for African talents. Now it becomes difficult to find a talent in a region that you're not physically present. Now that necessitated the need for us to create Hippo Voices, which the intention is to create a marketplace for African talents. So when you need to find a talent in Zambia, you don't have to pass through the eye of a needle to find a talent in Zambia. If you have to find a talent in Uganda, in Congo, you can simply get on the platform. That's where we want to grow the platform to be. To just be a platform where African talents can congregate for opportunities. Now, a lot of the projects that are run in the African markets do not emanate from the African space. Some are coming from Singapore, Dubai, USA, Korea, in different areas, but trying to run projects in different parts of Africa where they are not present. They just need a local voice, and they have the internet to help distribute their project. So they're looking for somebody who they can cast for a project and pay some $300, $400, and don't have to travel or don't have to struggle to find an agency to do that. We want to be able to cater for all of those challenges and help connect those global opportunities to local talents.
Hippo Voices. I've been seeing Hippo Voices for the past few months, and I'm so impressed, happy about this, because it's high time in the continent we had a platform like this for the entire continent. So a quick question is, does this affect the existence of Nigerian Voice Bank, or is this an evolution of Nigerian Voice Bank to Hippo Voices, or both will coexist?
Okay, both will coexist currently, because Nigerian Voice Bank caters for the Nigerian market. Hippo Voices caters for the African market. So creating opportunities for African voice talents, no matter where they are, this Hippo Voices. Hippo Voices will do more. In a few, it's not just, it started as a voiceover platform, but it is also going to be a content creation platform. Hippo Voices will be, will tell African stories in future. This, so expect to see a lot more than just voice talents from Hippo Voices.
And if I'm not mistaken, we're yet to launch Hippo Voices.
Yes. Hippo Voices is currently in its testing phase. So it's an open source platform. People can join easily, test, see how the platform works, give us feedbacks, and so yes.
Okay. I had to ask the question because I could go on and on asking more questions about Hippo Voices, but of course, this episode is for the VO Africa conference, and when we get to the I have another episode to explore the platform and let people know more about it. Well,
fantastic.
It's been an interesting episode today talking about the VO Africa conference. I can't wait to be there. I can't wait to listen to the speakers and to connect with fellow voice actors across the continent of Africa. It's happening in about a month from the publishing of this podcast, and I'm going to be encouraging everyone right now that is listening. If you're a voice actor and you're passionate about the industry and you're also passionate about growing your talent, it is high time you registered for the Voiceover conference, and I'll see you there. So thank you so much for listening, guys. And Emeka, before we leave, if there's any other information you'd like to drop, it'll be a good time to drop it right now, and then we'll call it a wrap.
Yeah, and this year we're giving out $250 for it's an equipment grant to help someone set up, get a few more equipment for their home studios. The format will be finalized the weeks to the conference, how that will be handled, but we're looking for how we can attract more gifts and opportunities and freebies for African voice talents to support their work.
Wow, that is awesome. So meaning registering for the Voiceover conference, the VO Africa conference, automatically qualifies me for $250 grant. That sounds beautiful. Plus free attendance for voice talents who are visually impaired across the continent, and plus the many Lajis with the Read X and all of that. I mean, kudos to you and the team for putting this together. Thank you so much, Emeka Onunkwo. It's always a pleasure to talk to you about voiceovers any day, anytime.
Thank you, too. Enjoyed the session with you. Thank you. And thank you for all you're doing in the space.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. All right, folks. See you at the VO Africa conference. Till then, I'd say keep listening, keep learning, and keep getting better. Bye for now.
If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, leave a comment, and tell someone about it. Follow the podcast on Everything VOs on all social media platforms. Thanks for listening and see you on the next episode. This podcast is a Coded Voiceovers production.